We are back!
That's
we
right.
are back!
And we're the three best friends that anybody could have. We're the three best friends that anyone could have. We're the three best friends that anyone can have. And we'll never, ever, 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 ever leave each other. We're the best three friends that anybody could have. I mean the three best friends that anybody could have. The friends of three best.
Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of There's Still Time, the AFTN Soccer Show, broadcasting on 101.9 FM from the unceded Musqueam Territory at the University of beautiful British Columbia. I am Michael McCall.
I'm Steve Pander.
And I'm Zachary Adam Eisenhammer.
And it's good to be back. It's been a while. I think June 10th was the last time I've done a show, so I'm going to be a little bit rusty. Not Russell Tybert, but I might be rusty in parts. But we'll see how things go.
Rusty Johnny Russell, is that his nickname? No.
Hey,
no.
Do not say anything about Johnny Russell. He will be coming up later in the show. Got a chance to speak to him yesterday. Obviously, I'm cock-a-hoop over that. It's been a strange couple of weeks. Just want to take this opportunity to thank everyone for all the nice words and condolences sent for the loss of my dog Bailey, Predictapooch, as some of you will know him. Had a couple of trips away as well. We wanted to do a trip after we lost Bailey, kind of just to get away from things, but we wanted to do something that we couldn't have done with Bailey. So we decided to go to Alberta because we were going to lots of places that he couldn't have done. So it was good. I got to see Banff, Lake Louise, the Dinosaur Park, Drumheller.
Oh, yeah.
And a wonderful CPL venue.
It's a nice little ground, eh?
I liked Spruce Meadows. I know you were there earlier. And
Before
it was all from your video, what you told me, the plans that I'd seen. I was really really looking forward to seeing it, and it was great. I loved it there. The setup's great. Yes, it's an equestrian arena. It's a horse dressage, horse jumping arena. The pitch was a bit of a mess, which from my vantage point for the game on Wednesday, it didn't look too bad. But then when I saw it on TV, I was like, oh, holy shit, yes, you can see all the things. They also had two trucks driving over the pitch before and at half-time, spraying water or possibly washing the horse manure off it. No one was really 100% sure. I can't think that would have helped it. They were big trucks.
Yeah.
Think Zambonis.
Yeah, I saw you tweeted out a picture, right?
I was like, weird. But the setup was good. You knew things were maybe not going to go well for the Whitecaps, even from the warm-ups. Andy Rose took a shot that flew over the bar, hit a little boy flush in the face, knocked him over, he hit his head on the ground, he had blood coming from his nose. He was right beside me, and if I hadn't pushed him in the way of the ball, that could have possibly been me that was hit. But credit to the Caps. They picked him up and they invited him into the locker room after the game.
Oh, that poor child. That's even worse.
I'm sure he heard some choice words from Marc Dos Santos and the management team as he went in there, but it was
the management team was in the locker room again at a Voyageurs Cup match?
Hopefully. But yeah, it was a fun trip. If you ever get the chance to get to Spruce Meadows for a game, possibly the next round of the Canadian Championship, head along to that. But we're going to talk more about Cavalry on next week's show. That was a game where you wanted to see could they compete with the higher level, and fair credit, the Whitecaps did. They got a 0-0 draw on the road. Lucky to get a 0-0 draw on the road, but I'm putting off talking about Saturday's game. The plus point of my trip was on the Saturday night we were staying in Golden in BC, and as we got just to the outskirts of Golden, there was a massive thunderstorm that knocked out the internet in our hotel. So when I got to the hotel, I couldn't watch the Whitecaps game. The internet eventually came back on, and I thought, I'm going to just see the score. I don't want to sit and watch this if it's terrible. Then I saw the score. I haven't seen anything apart from Jordi Reyna's goal on Twitter. I haven't even seen the highlights of that game. So to me, that game didn't happen.
We won't spoil it for you.
It's like you with the Voyagers Cup. So I haven't seen that game, but I'm guessing it didn't go well. But Saturday's game against KC, that was the bounce back game. Did the Whitecaps have bounce back ability? LAFC, they hammered KC, they hammered the Caps. They're the best team for me in MLS this season. They're the class of 2019. Probably means they won't win the MLS Cup, but right now they're the class of 2019. So for me, heading into this KC game, this was the game where we could really see where the Whitecaps are at. They're playing a team in the West, a team that's around them in the playoff standings. If they're going to make a push, they have to win this game. A draw didn't really help either team, but KC, I'm sure, would have taken the draw. Whitecaps at home had to win it. It was a mark of where they are as a team. And I think after that game, it's not a good mark. Coming out of that defeat yesterday, what was your general feelings?
This team needs help.
A lot.
A lot of help.
I don't know. Is anyone surprised?
I was. I genuinely thought they'd be more competitive against KC than they were.
Okay, that's fair.
I
You're
thought
at home. You don't expect, as we'll hear from Peter Vermes in part 2, where he talks about the Whitecaps bunkering in at home and how you're not expecting a home team to do that.
They were still shell shocked, I think, from the previous weekend, but
they shouldn't be.
No,
if they're going to be fired up, it's for a home game.
Yeah.
The first time at home in 3 weeks after a shellacking on the road, and a wake-up call. Let's be honest, in Calgary.
And the thing is, I expected, from the beginning of the season that they would build up, right? They would start getting better and better and they played decently at the beginning of the season for a team but they have dropped off, and that's worrying that they dropped off. Like, some of the players don't seem to be they've kind of the LAFC game. While they said, "Oh, this is just one game, we'll shake it off," some of the players seems it's affected more than.
I noticed one difference was they talked a lot about the Goats' standing in the league when they lost them. They didn't talk about Sporting's standing in the league as much.
I think they're just going to hope that just folks' attention gets distracted by, I don't know, the Nations Cup was on this weekend. I'm surprised I haven't been tweeting about that, just to take folks' mind off it. But the thing is, at the end of the game, the fans that were left, and there wasn't a lot of them, because it was a pretty mass exodus, but there was a lot of boos going around. And after the game, JJ Adams had said, when was the last time that there was boos at a Whitecaps home game? And I think earlier this season there was definitely a home game where there had been boos. No one could remember exactly what game it was.
But I think that was against the refereeing. There was some the decisions that didn't go with the Whitecaps, and that was more. This was clearly against the performance of the team. I think that was clear. There's been boos before because they've been more upset about the decisions that went against the team or whatever the case is. But I think the last time I think it might have been late last year. There was one of the game in just before Robbo got fired that there was a game where the
Dallas game they were booed off the pitch and then he was sacked after that.
Yeah. So I think that was the last one where they were seriously booed, where it was performance.
I don't know, because I was lucky enough not to be in the stadium.
I was looking to see if you were there or not, and then we were like, oh, no, yeah, you're lucky. I only went because Johnny Russell was there, and I never got to speak to him last year because I was sick and I missed the KC game, so I was like, I have to stay at the end now. 2-0. If Johnny hadn't made the trip, I was away home. There was no need to hang around. 1-0 it kind of felt that was it, and there was actually not much need to hang around. It was a test for the Whitecaps, and it was a test that they flunked, let's be honest. It felt like they maybe even struggled to write their name on the paper to get out the blocks. But before we delve into some of the ins and outs of the match, it's a 3-0 loss at home. And I don't want to talk too much about the match itself, but there's a lot of questions that's come out of it. But we'll start with the goals, how it played out, some other big talking points. And the Caps, the big talking point before the match, the Caps started Theo Bair. Peter Vermes says that caught them by surprise. So much so he called him Baird in his post-game interview. But it was good to see him. Got his first MLS start. He had a couple of early chances. He looked the only lively part of the Caps attacking core in that first half, but he couldn't put them away. We love Theo. We're great to see him playing. You have to get some of those shots. You've got to force a save out the keeper.
Yeah, they got to be on target. Yeah, that was. He'll be disappointed with that. They weren't on target, or they got deflected or blocked or whatever. I was happy for that. The Colombian was suspended, right?
Yeah.
So
he came into the press box at half time and he was like, "Oh, it's really nice in here. You get food and there's popcorn and there's a TV. So I should bring my kids." I was thinking, don't get used to this. Hopefully you are expecting to be back playing again. But yeah.
Or he moves on.
Interestingly though, Marc Dos Santos said afterwards that even if Freddie hadn't been suspended, Theo had earned his chance. And he feels he took his chance as well. But we'll come to that.
Which is interesting. So, Joaquin obviously has fallen down even further.
Yeah,
well, I think his was a fitness issue.
Yeah, he did come on late against Cavalry, so he didn't get much of a run out. It was like Johnny Russell had came on for 20 minutes the previous week, and they felt he wasn't good to start, especially in that turf. I think the same was with Joaquin. Ease him in gently, get some minutes.
So you got like two minutes at the end. Yeah. So. Yeah. Do you know, is there any word of, did they actually try to maybe attempt to end his loan
I don't know. No one's never.
It's still up for grabs. They can still loan it.
Because he was injured, it's kind of a bit.
Yeah, they got to wait till he's fully healthy before they can end something or whatever. But they could end it at any point during this period. If they have somebody bring in, especially. Yeah.
I still, by this stage, I feel it's more just like blind hope than actual expectation. But I do feel if he gets a goal, it's going to unlock him and he's going to start to go on a bit of a scoring streak. It's whether he even gets that goal. That's the thing.
Well, talking about goals, the 24th minute, the own goal finally went in. It was an own goal off Ali Adnan.
Yeah, earning his own goal.
Own goal, yes.
Another set piece.
But was it an own goal? Because they kept switching back and forth.
It was clearly an own goal, but it was initially given as Gerso by MLS for the longest time.
So is it officially own goal?
It's officially an own goal. Yeah. And it has to be an own goal. But I'm not 100% sure it was going in if it hadn't been directed. But it was going to another KC player.
Yeah. But the defending issue with Andy Rose was prevalent there because he could not handle Gerso on the. Yeah.
He didn't have a good.
He didn't. He went this. He went to
apparently.
He went towards the end line. Gerso was able to cut it back, and he wasn't able to use his lateral movement or lack of to block that shot out.
If it had been a 6-year-old kid, he'd have taken care of it. For me, as the pessimist that I am, I thought the game was over there and then. I went and got a coffee. Watched some of it on the TV. But then, from nowhere, it felt that the Caps started the second half strong. Melia produced a great save, sprawling stop to deny Inbom Hwang from the free kick. Bair had another chance that was pulled wide, but you have to get that on target. But then KC grabbed their second. Felipe Gutierrez finished nicely from the edge of the box.
Nobody closed in on him.
Could McMath maybe have done better? I don't know. But yeah, there was no closing down at all. He was allowed to run into the centre, fire home. It all stemmed from a poor kick out from McMath, and then PC couldn't really control it. My first view, and I thought PC had just given the ball away cheaply, but he never even got a chance to control it. McMath, of course, got the start for Max Crepeau, and we'll cover that later. But 2-0, that was it. They were not coming back. There was a Reina free kick. That was pretty much all the Caps showed from that crashed off the post, and then a miserable night was completed.
Yeah, Gerso got his actual goal.
Yeah, got his goal. The baby daddy, who's due to become a father today, nearly injured his shoulder when Daniel Henry fell on him so that he wasn't going to be able to hold that baby. But 90th minute to make it 3-0, all because of Johnny Russell, obviously. But that was that. And just disappointing all round. It was a night with very little good, a lot of bad and a lot of ugly, and we're going to get to that. But before we get our thoughts on some of those bad things, I want to play you some of what Marc Dos Santos said after the game, because it's very relevant then to what we're going to talk about.
What's going on out of the window now? What's going on out of the window now? No, I'm agile and everyone says that you're so fragile. What's going on out of the window now? What's going on out of the window now? No, I'm agile and everyone says that you're so fragile.
This stage right now, we're a little bit fragile. We're in a position that now every time the opponent scores, it looks heavy, and we need to grow at that. We need to have a different type of mental toughness, and react in a better way. But when that happens, it's hard. I think that I told the players what I'm going to say now, that I have to apologize to the fans for the first half. I think that's where the game happened. It was very sloppy, lack of intensity, lack of willingness, mentally not in the game for a game that had so much importance for us. Then the second half, I thought it was, it became an exaggerated result because we had good chances. Tim makes a good save. The other one, it's the post. Ali gets in a good area and very dangerous play. Theo has a shot that comes very close. I think there we deserved the goal. But then when we don't score 2-0 and then the result got a little bit exaggerated. But I think that the first half was key to our performance today. We didn't deserve to win due to our first half, for sure.
As you mentioned, some of that fragility comes down to not being able to score. At this point, is there anything you can say about it and add to that? Because it just
we're trying everything, right? We're trying everything. And today, I think that the positive of the game was Theo Bear. It was positive to have him there. It was positive to see what he tried to bring to the team, and that's great. That's a positive sign. But at this point, we're trying everything to create, and we're trying everything to find the best solutions possible, and hopefully we'll be able to grow.
It's now 9 points out of the playoffs. You said before the game how important this matchup was because of the way the two teams were in the standings. Looking at the standings now, what needs to happen to get back into that race? Or is it still even possible to get back into this race?
Yeah, we can think about that right now. Yes, we want to be in like other teams. 5 of us in our division are going to stay out of the playoffs. But what I told the guys right now is now we have to think game by game. We have to think about what we want to look like in the future. We still have the Canadian Championship to play for. We still have a lot to play for. And I believe that inside, and I'm challenging everybody in our locker room to show that we have that mental side that we could react to things for sure. And it's not going to be a group that's going to be blaming each other. It's going to be a group that's going to fight to grow and to become a better team. At this moment, we have to grow thinking about what we want to look like tomorrow.
Obviously, much has been made of, say, woes on the scoring side of things, but as of late, the defensive side of things as well has started to fall off, especially after a strong start to the season. What do you think has been the cause of your defensive side of things falling off as of late?
Yeah, I think that we have to come back to what we want to look like. Because of the pieces we have right now, we're changing a lot from the 4-3-3 to a 3-5-2. And if you look at the beginning of the year or in the first 12 games, I would say when we looked more solid defensively, there was habits that were kind of getting into the team. And then after the Gold Cup, some guys out of form, guys going to the can also. We had to make changes that brought instability, and I believe that instability of going from a back 3 to a back 4 is something that we have to avoid, so we start getting more habits again. I think that we lost habits. That's what I would say.
Marc Dos Santos, the gaffer there, and his back is against the wall. Will he have the answer to solve it all? That's what we're all waiting to find out. Summer transfer window is open. It's exciting. All these teams are adding pieces. Keep reading it on Twitter. All these trades. We're very quiet.
I know you're just tying into the song there, but this is not. You can't place this all on the gaffer.
Oh no! Not in the slightest.
I mean, there's maybe this is not the time to talk about this.
Well, he has signed the players, but yeah.
No, he has signed. Yeah, he has signed.
But had very little time to do it.
Yeah. No, but
I don't think they're playing the way he wants them to play. I think they're going out in the pitch with a set of instructions, and they're not following those instructions.
Oh, well,
at least executing it. Yeah.
Well, he said that himself. Yeah. But in terms of the building stuff, right? Like about a year ago, this ownership and front office said we're moving back towards the top third of spending.
Yeah. Well, Fonzie was there yesterday. I'm sure he was like, oh, let me see what they spend all my transfer fee on. Pyrotechnics.
Which they had to release at the end of the game, not during the game.
I know. I'm waiting to speak to Johnny Ross and all these pyrotechnics are going off. I'm like, this better not.
Because they weren't able to use it at all during the game.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah. But MDS there said the Caps are fragile. Hard to disagree. It's been a big change, as we kind of talked about a little bit there. Early in the season, they had a lot of fighting spirit. We talked about it a lot on the show. They were never giving in. They were coming back after going a goal behind. Their heads weren't going down. Even until recently, they came back against Colorado. They came back against Dallas. And you felt that they had something. They had that fighting spirit. These 3 losses, that fighting spirit seems to have completely deserted them. 3 poor performances. Nothing really on offer. Very little on offer. It looks and feels like a completely different team. So what is behind that? 2 of the 3 performances, the defeats, have been after we've got our 4 Canadians back from the Gold Cup, who were some of the better performers before they went away. I don't know, did they loss to Haiti somehow psychologically damage them? Are they just tired from playing all that international football? Or is it just the simple fact this team is not competitive? It's not at the races compared to the rest of the Western Conference.
Well, it could also be that, I know the Haiti loss was probably pretty bad for them, but people usually when they lose international, they come back and it's not the same thing. It doesn't carry over. I think it could be that they were playing well and then they got taken away from the team. This has happened in the past. The Whitecaps teams where they're on a run, international break happens, they kind of dissipate.
MDS talked about the breakup of chemistry and the lack of chemistry, but they should still be able to slot back into having that chemistry. I was a little bit surprised Derek Cornelius didn't get the start yesterday because I thought he played quite well against Cavalry on Wednesday. But you watch other games in MLS, and today was a great example. I sat and I watched Seattle-Atlanta. That felt like you were watching a different league, a different level. The players, the skill, the atmosphere, everything about it did not feel like what the Whitecaps are doing.
Well, those are the halves of the league, Michael.
Very true. But
2 of the halves.
It's hard to see how that changes anytime soon. That's the thing. Can anything spark this attack? I want to talk about formation in this part and the next part. The next part more on the defensive side. What formation should we be going with? But just if we look at the squad of players, and there's maybe not many additions coming in, what formation is going to get the best out of this midfield and attack?
Well, I think first you have to start with, we know Marc Dos Santos' preference is 3-5-3 in an ideal world. We know that he believes he has at least 3 center backs who can start in this league. They just spent a lot of money to keep Ali Adnan here permanently, and he is best suited to playing the wide left in a 5.
And you saw that yesterday. He was one of the players that had a bit of life about him.
Yeah, got a goal.
Yeah.
Had one of the better chances.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it doesn't miss from there.
No, so I think that's what they want to do.
He's no Brixie.
Whether or not,
rest in peace. That was a bad injury he got today.
In that game?
Yeah, ACL.
Oh, He'll blame the turf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He kind of twisted.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry I derailed you there.
No, it's okay. So no, I think this is what he ideally wants to do, and he's trying to accomplish with this group. He's shown at least that he's not crazy rigid or anything because he's played other ways.
Yeah.
Which
He's
is
talked
nice.
that basically his two formations are going to be 4-2-3-1 or 3-5-2.
Yeah.
I'm not sure either of them suit the players we have to get some creativity going.
No, they need.
So then it's down to the players. You have to get creativity.
I don't think formation is an issue. I don't think Dos Santos is the issue. I think they just need better talent.
Yes.
Folk will say,
They need
though,
to
that he
infuse
has
some
brought
talent and
the-
some
the
creativity.
players in. And Jay Duke tweeted at me during the week to say, people like me often say the coach just puts the team on the pitch. He can't put the ball in the net. But we've talked about this for multiple years, different coaches. It's clearly the squad building, the recruitment, where it's fallen down.
Yeah.
And do you put that
Yeah.
on the coach? Do you put that on the higher up?
And MDS himself, I believe, would say Vancouver doesn't have a internal structure to best do that, and that's part of the legacy I think he wants to build here or leave here, long term. And is working towards, and
Hopefully long term.
They have done some work behind the scenes, but I think there's also some things that they want to do behind the scenes, maybe that they're prevented from doing. So that's a part of it. That's a part we don't see and definitely don't hear a lot about.
Well, do you continue with Theo Bair after his performance on Saturday, or does Freddie get straight back in on Wednesday against New England?
No, I think you put Freddie in on Wednesday because you need the veteran in the away match. Like, you need the veteran presence in the away match because it's a different setup and everything. And then bring Theo Bair for the next game at home. So I think you need to rotate a little bit there because you don't want to stretch Theo Bair too much as well.
I would probably say the exact opposite. I think you put Theo Bair, show, hey, you did well, and he's going to run.
And less pressure on him on the road.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. So you did well. They're on the road, so play the younger player. Then you come home, you play the proven player that some people are maybe there to watch or whatever.
Leading scorer.
I just prefer to see Theo.
Although if you take his penalties out, it's just 2 goals.
Yeah. If I got to go to the game, I'd rather see Theo Bair on the pitch.
That's all.
You and I would, but
I mean, that's before the game started. I said all I really want from tonight's game is Theo Bair to get a goal. It would have just been fantastic.
He did everything short of getting the goal.
Well, we've talked about the Caps' offensive woes all season. That's far, though, from being the only problem now. There's also the defence. It's become a bit of a shambles, and we're going to chat about that after this.
Hi, I'm Marc Dos Santos, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
Called you so many times today, and I guess it's all true what your girlfriends say. That you don't ever want to see me again, and your brother's gonna kill me, and he's 6'10". I guess you'd call it cowardice, but I'm not prepared to go on like this. I can't stand losing. I can't stand losing. I can't stand losing you.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. That was Marc Dos Santos there with I Can't Stand Losing. Actually, it was the police, but I'm pretty sure that is Marc Dos Santos' sentiments because he has been a winner everywhere that he's gone. That is the thing. That it was the police there, a song from 1979. Because I've been away from the show for the last month, we haven't been playing our songs from 1979. So I've got a double dose for you this week. I saw that this was in the charts this week from the police over in the UK, and I thought, hey, can't not play that because the Whitecaps basically have to stop losing, and they have to stop losing pretty quickly if they have any hope of saving their season. And I know a lot of people are going to say, season's over. MLS does show you just have to string a few results together and you move up the table. We'll talk a little bit about some teams that have done that in the next part. Earlier in the season, though, the Whitecaps' defence was what was saving the Caps, keeping them in games, earning all the plaudits. Daniil Henry was having a great season. Maxime Crepeau, fantastic saves, brilliant stuff.
Godoy was solid.
Godoy, for me, has been one of the players of the season as well. Ali Adnan. You've got two right-backs who are of good quality in Nerwinski and Sutter.
Yeah.
Derek Cornelius has come onto his game. This was all looking great. Even Andy Rose, when he went back there initially, was doing really well. Off late, though, that's not been the case. And I know we lost a big chunk of the defence to the Gold Cup, as we talked about in the last part. They did keep a clean sheet in the Canadian Championship on Wednesday night, somehow.
Ultra.
It was, an ultra clean sheet.
I saw the tweet yesterday.
Yes.
It was from Ryan, right?
Yeah.
Sorry.
When we were 2-0 down, it was like, it's a clean sheet for the Caps.
No. He said this is a
McMath clean sheet.
This is what a McMath clean sheet is, 2 goals.
But then the third goal went in and spoiled it. So I told him he jinxed that. But yeah, they did keep a clean sheet on Wednesday night. But the last clean sheet that they have kept in MLS play was on May 10th in the 1-0 win against Portland. That was 11 matches ago. They haven't won a match in any competition since May 25th. You're not going to do anything with stats like that over a season. You can't have that big a spell where things don't go right.
And correct me if I'm wrong, May 25th, last game before the Gold Cup breakup happened,
You're
right?
wrong.
Was it? Was
May
there one more?
31st Toronto.
Oh, was there? Okay.
Yeah. And that wasn't much cop either.
No, there wasn't.
Now, part of the problem with the defence, or part of the problem in general, is the amount of goals they've been given up. 9 in the last 2 games alone. But Stephen, we were talking about this on the way in. There's only so much that a defence can do over the course of a season when you're constantly having to bail out the team where there's no creativity in midfield. There's not people scoring goals. Or they're getting off to a slow start and then they're having to fight back. At some point, that defence is going to buckle and break. And I genuinely feel that's just what's happened to the Whitecaps just now. That heads have gone down a little. And I think their confidence is gone as well.
It's like that in any sport. Call any sport. If the attack is not producing, there's only so much that your defense or goalkeeper or goaltender, whatever you want to say, there's very little they can do if you don't have all phases of the game going. That's championship teams. That's what they do. They either have one outstanding one that makes up for the other side, or you fall apart.
Yeah, it's hard to maintain that for so long. Sometimes you see that within a game, and I think and I think it's fair to say that maybe we're seeing that within the season.
Well, last week LAFC was the clear one within the game, where they just kept holding on. Then the 35th minute the goal goes in, and then everything.
You can't give up that much possession. I mean, first half the Caps are 1 down, and they had, I think it was 38% possession. It might even have been less than that. That's not a home team, let alone a home team that's getting beat. It's not sustainable. Last year, I remember asking Kendall Waston, and he was really pissed off when I asked him this after the game about defence not doing well, and saying, "Oh yes, it's always the defence. It's always the defence." Well,
you do good, Kendall.
Daniil Henry had a few interesting things to say after the game yesterday, and we'll talk about those after we hear exactly what they were.
I think everybody has to just go home and really look at their own performance tonight and see if they're satisfied with it. A lot of people, if they're real with themselves, they will understand that today wasn't good enough, and it hasn't been good enough for a while. What we need to do is really bring it every single day, but it has to come now. I'm tired of talking at this point. I tell you guys the same things every week. We need to bring it on the pitch when it matters.
Obviously the defense, as of late, you guys have started to ship more goals. As a defender, what do you think has changed since then, and what do you think you need to get back to start getting some more clean sheets and start to get the goals against back down?
It's tough because the defense have done really well. It's a lot of pressure. It's tough. I don't know. I don't want to solely make any excuses for why or what's going on, but when you're playing within a team who's not doing as well as we want to be doing, and it's really easy to point the finger. But as a club, we're not doing well. I think it's kind of harsh to say the defense as of late has been doing poorly. As a team, we've been doing poorly, and that needs to change.
Daniil, do you think this team is realistically a playoff caliber team?
Yes, with everybody on the same page.
And how does the team right the ship going ahead to New England next game?
The same way we go into every single game, with the mentality to win.
So, Daniil Henry there, pausing before he answered some of the questions, and he was one of a couple of comments yesterday after the game where no one was wanting to point fingers, which, reading between the lines, was everyone was really wanting to point fingers, but we're not going to do it publicly, we're going to do this in the locker room. He also had, and you could read this one way as a throwaway line, or, as media love to do, analyse it to death and say, as long as we're all on the same page.
But that means that they're on the same page, so as long as they stay on the same page, they'll be fine.
That's one way of looking at it.
Yeah.
Or it could be a whole 2018 end of season press conference thing.
No, I don't see it that way.
I hope it's not.
No, I don't see,
because
it doesn't sound
there hasn't really been any murmurs of any locker room discontent. But folk are now starting to say in interviews, Johnny Ricci on the radio, things are not good.
No, they said they're not playing good.
They're not playing good.
That's Arise said we're like, I think he might have used the word terrible.
We're playing terrible right now. Yeah, he did say that, and he said that the one thing he did say is that if we were in Europe, we'd be fighting for relegation, where we would have to like playing for our lives and everything.
That's the thing about MLS. Folk get too comfortable. It's like, okay, we're having a bad season.
That's funny. There was
I think you got like ownership and management that get comfortable because this is. The lack of relegation gives them a green light to spend less, basically, in MLS. Yeah. And I'm not just talking about the Whitecaps. There's other clubs that don't spend very much because there's no relegation, because they know they're going to get that. The paychecks coming in from what Zach likes to say called sum.
Yeah. And with parity and all the crap that goes with it, it's quite easy to turn a bad season to a good one.
There was another wee Scottishman on the radio yesterday who quite agreed with you in terms of the positive side of the pressure that comes with relegation.
We should get Colin on the show, actually. That would be a fun chat, I think.
He lives in the Valley.
For this defence, and I mean, it's clear the defence has shouldered a lot of the responsibility and kept the Caps afloat for a lot of this year. And there's no way they're not going to go home at some point and be pissed off that the midfield and the attackers are kind of letting them down and they buckle. For a defensive point of view, what is the best defence for this team? Is it 4 at the back with holding 2, 3 at the back with your wing backs going back and forward, or a flat 5 and maybe not pushing your wingers?
I think if you have 3 at the back where they're actual proper centre backs and not a holding midfielder or a midfielder being pushed into that role, you're fine. And you also need that one, like for me, a 3 at the back with a resave, it doesn't work for me. I think you need a more ball winning player in front of those guys to protect
a destroyer.
A
destroyer that can actually that can push the ball forward as well.
Like does what he does
at his best.
A better version of Gershon Coffee.
More consistent.
I like Gershon Coffee, but better version.
But yeah, Risi does his job well.
Yes.
It's not a dynamic position that he's been asked to play.
Yes.
We need someone beside him that can be dynamic.
Here's where I think the problem is. I think the 3-5-2 is good for the defenders they have and for the left winger they have. I don't think it works with, like you guys said, the midfielders they have and the attackers they have, and probably also the right side of that 5.
Yeah, a winger that can tear defenses a new one has to get addressed in this window.
Yeah, a wing back or a winger.
Yeah. Andy Rowe's got a lot of criticism. We talked about it on
from the child's family, or
very possibly, definitely the child. One thing I will say about him though, when they made the switch yesterday and he was no longer like in the 3 because they kind of went to a flat back 4, he was chasing balls down and everything that went to Melia. He was the only one that was actually running towards the goal to force him to pick up.
Of the midfielders,
yeah. Or strikers, like
no, Bear
had given up.
Bear was hitting.
By that point, he'd kind of.
He probably slowed down a little bit.
The last 10 minutes of the game, Rose was the guy that was doing that. And one other thing I want to ask, In-Bum Hwang, again, was ineffective for me yesterday. He
except for
has
the free
not
kick.
lived up.
Except for the free kick.
Well, he hasn't lived up to, I feel, what he was sold to us as being. And if that's the best he can be, and he was linked with German clubs, he would have struggled in Germany. Or would he have had better players around him, and then his game would have come on.
Even at Haas Foul, he would have had better players in the second one. But he, in my opinion, he has been ineffectual. He did contribute to the social media team, so they could use a photo of his face to tweet out their mood or whatever, because he was like posing like.
I never saw that. Thankfully,
big contribution.
Yeah. Now that's what we think of the Whitecaps. We've all read social media, newspapers, and heard on the radio what everyone here thinks.
What's
of
a
it.
newspaper?
As the Scottish poet Robert Burns famously wrote, "O wad some power the gifty gie us to see ourselves as other see us." Here's how KC saw us.
Coach, a great win there. What did you see for your team?
I always think it's really difficult when you have to go away from home and you have to sort of control the game. The fact that they were bunkered in at home doesn't make for an easy game, for sure, because it's very easy to get a little overzealous and then open yourself up for the counter. And I thought there was two things. I thought, one, we were really good in possession. We didn't lose the ball in critical areas of the field that, found us unbalanced. And at the same time, when we did go forward, we were very conscientious and actively defending from behind. And if they won the ball, we were really quick to snuff a lot of things out. And I think that was a difference in the game.
How important was the early goal?
Yeah, especially against a team that bunkers in. To score a goal early is big, because now all of a sudden they have to try and play. And they open themselves up. And even though the second half, I thought we started out okay, and then all of a sudden we kind of had a little lull. We found our footing really quickly right after that, and then all of a sudden it was, getting the second goal, I think, really took a lot of life out of it, and the third was just consolation.
Did you feel kind of more or less in control for a large part of the match?
I mean, I would say for the full match, yeah. I mean, the fact that our possession was what it was, like I said, to be able to do that at somebody else's place in the fashion that we did was very mature on our part, on the players' part. And then the other is like I said, and you said it, the early goal is a big thing when you're in a situation like this.
Did you see that coming into the game, or did you have to make adjustments?
No, we talked about if they sit back and they bunker in, getting a goal is then going to change the way that they're going to have to play, and at times they'd be in between. And sometimes that's hard when a team goes in with the mindset to drop off and park the bus. Now all of a sudden you score. What do they do from there? It's hard to change that mindset, and that was our objective, and the guys did a good job of getting a goal.
I don't want to take you back to last Wednesday, but it was a tough loss at home. But the team has rebounded with 2 solid wins, no goals against. Do you see that? And obviously with all these injuries coming off and the people coming back, do you see a good run for you guys coming up?
Well, we're going to take it one game at a time, and I know it's cliche, but that's all we can do. The interesting thing is that just this past week, we only have 2 guys out injured, where prior to that we had 16 guys out injured. So there's a big difference in everything. There's a difference in giving guys a physical rest, giving some guys a mental rest, giving some guys a little competition, and now all of a sudden it raises the level of training, and now all of a sudden the guy sees that, holy cow, this guy's coming back, maybe I'm not going to play, so I better pick up my game, and it's definitely a big help. And the other thing is that the guys haven't they've lost. There's no doubt that they lost some confidence along the way, but the one thing, as I told them, is it doesn't matter how much I believe they're a good team. They have to start believing it themselves, and when they do, they'll start playing like they have in the past. And the last couple games, and if you watched us play against LAFC, that game is deceptive in the fact of the scoreline was. When you look at the game and the flow of the game, we were actually really good, and we're still struggling with a lot of players not being on the field. So, and then prior to that, we had 4 games on the road, which we tied 2, won 1, and lost 1. So we're kind of making some good steps at the moment.
Obviously, it's transfer season. A lot of people talking about you guys are coming back. Like you said, so many people coming back.
Our transfer window is our players come back from injury.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll be active. Yeah. We'll be active a little bit for sure. And then I think we'll also maybe be internally active in the league possibly as well. All those things have to always work out, but I think we're going to try for sure.
Okay. Although it's relatively early, what does it mean to you to go up ahead of Vancouver in the standings at this point?
Well, I think the most important thing for us is just gaining 3 points. That's the biggest thing. I tell the guys all the time, we can't worry about what everybody else is doing. We just got to focus on ourselves. And you can sit at home and hope that everybody loses, but it's not reality. If we just take care of our business, then we have a good shot.
Yeah. So what was your take on Vancouver, given that Montero was out and they didn't seem to be able to mount much of an attack?
Look, I think Reyna's always a handful. The guy is he works hard. He's very fast. He can be deceptive and elusive in the game. And we had a lot of discussion about him. I thought our guys, like I said, managed him really, really well. I was a little surprised that Baird was in the game. I didn't expect that. But again, the guys, they did a good job with him as well. So like I said, I think we were very conscientious in defending today.
He's the gaffer. You can't try it up with him. He's the gaffer. Even when he's on a limb. He's the gaffer. When his back's against the wall. Has the answer to it all. He's the gaffer.
Haven't played that song for a while, so we've played it twice tonight. Now, that was Peter Vermes, Sporting Kansas City head coach.
Who loves bunkering in, or talking about bunkering in.
Several times there he talked about the Whitecaps bunkering in. And for a game at home, you don't expect that, really, from a team. Especially when, at the start of the season, we were sold... You have to attack at home. You have to entertain at home.
And the thing that surprised me was when he said, and when I asked him, did you expect this or did you have to make an in-game adjustment? He goes, he expected it, which I didn't see before in previous games where Vancouver was bunkering in.
There's been a few pretty boring
maybe
games
against
placed recently.
Maybe against LAFC and some of the bigger teams. Maybe they expected it because of that. I'm not sure.
I don't know. It just feels like a team that knows they can't compete if they go head-to-head and take the game to teams. So that's what they're doing. But is this not exactly what Carl Robinson was criticised for?
Yes.
Marc Dos Santos has a lot of goodwill because he's the new coach. A lot of it from the regulars or the regulars that are left in the fan base, they know it's a rebuilding year, that he's trying things to turn it around. You do have to ask, you've got a couple of questions to ask. One, how long does that goodwill last with the general public as well as the hardcore?
Did you catch Steve's Vancouver fans don't forget joke last week?
Can't remember.
You missed it. It was good.
I mean, how long does that goodwill last?
No, okay.
It's a honeymoon period over.
But probably for most people, I think. But here's the thing: you can change the coach, but it's not a changing of the club's approach, the overall club approach, which has been the problem since the beginning.
And if people say now, you're not spending money, they'll say, look, we just signed Ali Adnan, the most expensive left back in MLS history.
Right.
That doesn't put the ball in the net. Oh no, it did. Yeah, it did. Yeah.
But no, and yeah, I think he's wearing his age on his jersey. I think he's 53. Or 35, one or the other. We talked about this last week, Michael, and we won't know more clearly without someone opening up to us, or maybe in September. But the money that's being spent, none of it is, as far as we can tell, out of the owner's pocket. It's out of their operating budget, as far as we can tell.
Yeah,
the salaries. The what I would calculate to be 4.5 to 5.2 million they've spent on transfer fees this year, that's from the Alphonso Davies money. It's not out of their own pocket. And as far as I can tell, none of the money, they're not paying anything over the salary cap, right? Which is covered by the league and by revenues.
Yeah.
So they're not paying any of their own money after they said they would do better, and they have intentionally not done better.
To be fair, though, the cookies aren't running out as early in the press box.
Oh.
So they've either possibly spent the money on that, or it's the fact that no one's turning
That's
up
a
to
good
cover
point.
the game anymore.
There were cookies at halftime.
Yeah.
Do you guys read what people say on Twitter about the media and how they should be harder and ask harder questions? And
I do.
Okay.
Why is there not a better selection of cookies? If you saw the photo I tweeted out from Calgary on Wednesday night, they had a dessert buffet. It was amazing. But here's another important question. A lot of people can put up with a bad season, not making the playoffs, etc., if you're seeing progress. If it feels like progress is being made, you have to say it does not feel like they've made progress. It feels like they've regressed.
That's fair. At this moment, that's fair. And again, it's hard for me. Some people have blaming the coach for that, blaming whatever his approach, his signings, whatever. But again, to me, that's like a downstream issue. You need to stop the problem upstream.
Yeah.
And that's with the approach of the front office and the ownership. Whoever's wagging the dog in there, you can have a discussion about that or what you believe to be true. But that's where the problems at this football club lie. And until they're addressed, expect more of the same. Expect more like this, or expect the only thing that'll happen, which we've seen over this last 6 years or whatever, is players playing above themselves and them having a good little run.
Yeah.
But it won't be because the players
sustainable.
are better. It'll be because they have a great time where they come together and they play above themselves.
When it comes to the regression, for me, it's the lack of depth on this overall thing. Like, some of the players that are starting regularly for the Whitecaps should be bench players or would be bench players for other teams.
Yeah.
They don't have enough competent starters. Like, I feel you need 8 solid starters, and they don't have that. Like 8 solid starters, and then you kind of, the other 3 positions are kind of people that can rotate in and out and in and out. Like, at least that's a minimum 8 starters, and I don't think they even have that 8 competent starters in MLS.
It's 3 straight losses now for the Whitecaps. They're winless in 6. They've had just 1 victory in their last 10 matches in all competitions. Talked that they haven't actually won a game since May 25th it was. The rock bottom now of the West, 9 points off the playoff places. What's the answer? Is there one for this year? Do we have to write it off as a rebuild year, simply accept failure? Is it too early to write it off? Because despite how they're playing, you see what runs like San Jose has done, and it's put them up the table. But it certainly feels that from things that MDS said yesterday and before and other chats we've had with him, he hasn't explicitly said this, but I'm feeling that right now all the Whitecaps' eggs, what's left of them, are being put in the Canadian Championship basket. If they win that Canadian Championship, if they lift the Voyageurs Cup, that's some success, that's some progress. What's your thoughts on that? Would that placate you? Would that placate the fans? How much stock do you put in the Voyageurs Cup over the playoffs?
For me, it's equal stock right now. I like the MLS and the Voyageurs Cup is the same thing for me. Like, if you success in one is equal to success in the other, because you're lifting trophy, it's getting you to another level. Like, it's Canadian Championship, it is. So, but I at this point don't have that much confidence in them in the Voyageurs Cup. Like, they might be able to get by Cavalry, but then they got to play Montreal, who's having a good year. We don't know how.
I fancy Cavalry to score
in
the second leg, and then it's what we do and when they score.
And then Montreal, obviously you have to face them, and who knows what Montreal will put out in the maybe you get by them because they play a lesser team, do what they did before. But then you got to face Toronto, and Toronto is going to be a tough opponent.
Yeah, Steve, I don't disagree with you, but I think for most people in the Vancouver public don't see the Voyageurs Cup winning.
Oh, no, but that was for me.
Yeah, no,
That's for me. I don't.
So I think
the
that's where
general public are going to put more stock in the playoffs.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So that's where the problem lies for if that's MDS's approach. But I agree with Steve. I don't see Vancouver at this moment being successful in what would be 5 more games in the Voyageurs Cup and winning 3 rounds.
Because Marc Dos Santos was talking about 15 games coming up over the next 2 months. He's planning on a long run in the Voyageurs Cup.
Which is fine for him to say that.
Yeah.
Like, you want him to be ambitious.
Don't see that. And like, for me, there's no point getting to the MLS playoffs and losing the first game. You have to have a competitive team for the playoffs. If you're not going to be competitive, Canadian Championship, for me, is the biggest thing that the Whitecaps are going to win.
And remember, the MLS playoffs this year are not in the favor of the lower-ranked teams.
I know. Although we're not very good at home, so maybe that doesn't actually matter. So I tweeted out that question on Twitter last night. Would you be happy if the Whitecaps won the Canadian Championships but didn't make the playoffs? So I'm going to go through some of the responses. We got a lot, so I'll rattle through them. You guys can join in as well.
Can I read some?
Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
Tim Altman at Proggy01. It would help, but not by much, because we probably won't do much in the Champions League either with the squad that we have.
Blake Price, TSN. Ooh, that's a famous guy. Boy, that's optimistic at this point too, though, isn't it? TFC might be finding its way now.
At Chris Harrop GK. I'm okay with it. Hard to see us getting past the first round in playoffs anyway, but continental football is a must for me.
Jared 1886. Kind of funny considering we drew 0-0 to Calgary with arguably our strongest lineup available. I still think we beat them 3-0 on the return leg though.
We'll see at Cast W123 when they've only got 1-1 Voyagers Cup. It should be an expectation of employment that point is to win, not pick and choose the easier games.
At Arna Selvison. I'd be fine with it because right now I see us making neither.
Derek Manchester at Kerrod Top. I'd be shocked if they finished the season better than their expansion year, 28 points. Yeah.
At Angus Walker, who asked a very good question during the game. For me, the Canadian Championship is the top priority every season, more than MLS Cup, and definitely more than just getting into the playoffs. Playoffs mean nothing. I know you have to be in it to win it, but just making the playoffs is no more of an accomplishment than coming second. The Canadian Championship is our entry to the CCL. MLS Cup isn't. Canadian Championship is like promotion. MLS Cup is like the end of the line.
At No Good Boyo, if you're going to eat excrement, might as well have some garnish.
Oh, I thought we were going to get to swear there. Sean Kawakami. Honestly, I hate the playoffs. As has been said ad nauseum, playoffs take meaning away from each game of the season.
At a Big Country Footy, good luck. TFC just woke up. 2 TAM players added to, and all the DPs back fit. They beat Montreal away, and now they're going on a run. Vancouver needs to prioritize getting ownership that is committed to competing.
Robert Logan, who's at 12 Chester 68, just fine, since the game with the Tigers or the Tigers was the best played game of Caps MLS era, and this MLS season is lost.
Robin Bristow says, right now, I'm less worried about results than I am about seeing progress in the team. The club needs to see signings in this transfer window and the Christmas transfer window that will really impact the team. Ownership, good faith, in exchange for fan patience.
And finally, Laurie Birdsall, I think the playoffs may have left the building last night. I just want to see progress. Canadian Championship would likely be some progress.
There's a few other tweets as well. Haven't got time to go through all of them, but thank you for everyone that sent them. But a lot of people were saying last night they were giving up their season tickets. Guy that copied me and sent it to the Whitecaps said he had 5 since 2011. He's not renewing. And I had a few other folk that said they've had them since 2011 and that they're not renewing because they feel they've not delivered on the promises that were made this off-season. A lot of questions as well about where the Fonzie money's gone. We'll chat a lot more about that in the coming weeks. We've got New England coming up on Wednesday, San Jose on Saturday. We'll talk a little bit about that and some MLS stuff after the break.
Hi, I'm Jake Nowinski, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And tell us what that song was, Steve.
That was a theme song from The Last Starfighter, one of my favorite movies. It came out 35 years ago this weekend. It basically, it's kind of a lower-end Star Wars. The guy was recruited to become a starfighter based on playing a video game, like an arcade game. and he was recruited, so he went to space and everything. It's well worth it. It's probably the special effects aren't that great, but it was just a blast from the past.
It's too bad people can't see the glimmer in Steve's eyes.
It was honestly one of my
animated he's been for the whole show.
It's one of my favorite. Come on, it's one of my favorite movies. Like growing up.
Speaking of great movies from the 80s that are inspirational that didn't have great special effects but are still great.
Yeah.
Goonies is in theaters right now.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Yeah, that's good.
Tuesday, you should come
20 years ago, Blair Witch came out this weekend. Yeah.
20
It's
years
been 20
ago?
years
Oh,
since
man.
people have been puking in the theaters.
I saw the UK premiere of that at the Edinburgh Film Festival. It was superb.
Did you get sick? A lot of people got sick in the theater because of the shakiness of the camera.
A lot of folk think my VMSL videos reminds me a lot of the Blair Witch Project.
When 2016, I was away in Salt Lake for a game. As you guys know, there's lots to do in Salt Lake. So we went to a movie. Will and Sean and I.
It's very white there.
Yeah, we went to
the buildings, not
Salt.
the people.
Salt too.
We went to the theater, and there was a movie just like that. I forget what it's called. And it was like a movie where they strapped the camera to the guy's chest, and it's a whole movie like that.
Yeah, I've done some videos like
and
that.
I was just
Is it Run Harry Run or something like that?
I forget, but I was just like, I turned to them about
it was all
half an hour.
It was all in first person.
Yeah,
it was like a video game basically.
Yeah, and I turned to them about 30 minutes, and I was like, guys, I gotta leave. I gotta leave. Like,
we should do a pulled off at half time like that. But we're going to talk a tiny little bit more about the Whitecaps in this part, then we'll get into general MLS. So there's 2 tough games coming up for the Whitecaps. Travel to New England on Wednesday night for a game on Wednesday night. New England now under Bruce Arena, unbeaten in 8 games, I think it is. Then San Jose, who's hit some form as well, coming to BC Place on Saturday. That Earthquakes game is definitely must-win territory now.
I think they're both must-win. You kept to see at this point both.
I can't see us getting much from New England. Even if we get a point there, I think I'd be really happy from that. And I think you'll see a weaker lineup.
Okay, must result. They're all must results now.
I say weaker lineup. I don't even know what a weak lineup is anymore. So
yeah, I don't fancy them getting anything from Bruce Arena's New England. But I don't think the San Jose game is going to be a gimme in any way, shape, or form.
No, I'd fancy the Quakes at this point. What's your predictions for these games then? Let's just get that out of the way.
I'll say a loss in New England, and I'll say they bounce back with a win against San Jose. You got to hedge against the bets. They can't be losing every game or drawing every. They got to pick up a win here and there.
You don't remember 2011?
No, I don't.
I agree. I see New England winning for sure, and I see a draw at best against San Jose.
I'm saying 3-0 to New England, and
they're not that good.
2-1 or 3-1 to San Jose.
Yeah, I think 2-0 New England, and I think like 1-1 or 2-1.
I know they're not that good, but neither are we.
I know that, but I'm just saying you guys are like giving every opponent just like is like a superstar team now.
I'm just being pessimistic now, so if we get anything, I'm pleasantly surprised and it actually makes my night. But it looks bleak for the Whitecaps in MLS, we've got to say that. They're rock bottom of the West, as we talked about, after this weekend's matches. Their loss, Colorado's draw against Portland, saw them come into last place. Only Columbus and Cincinnati are worse. We do have to play the pair of them in August, so that could give us 6 points.
But Cincinnati has a game in hand, so they could be level
and they're on a 2-game winning streak as well. It's bad for the Ohio teams. It's not so much Ohio over everything as everyone over Ohio.
I thought it was Ohio versus everyone.
It's a wrestling thing anyway.
Yeah.
Whitecaps have 4 wins this season. That's the lowest in all of MLS. 9 defeats and 8 draws, which is the highest in all of MLS. 22 goals for, the 3rd lowest in MLS, with only the 2 Ohio sides worse than us. 34 against, and there's 4 teams worse than us there, so not looking great. Teams are starting to make runs now where we're slumping. Minnesota sit 4th after Mason Toy made it 4 goals in 4 games to give them a 1-0 win over Dallas. 4 straight wins now for Minnie after 3 straight losses, so it's doable. We've got 3 straight losses. We could get 4 straight wins now. San Jose are 5th. They've had a tremendous turnaround of late. 1 loss in the last 9. 6 of those are wins. Just 2 losses in the last 14. Yesterday's visitors, Kansas City, made it back-to-back wins. They're sitting 9th. 4 points off the playoff places, but with a game in hand.
Now, the thing is with all 3 of those teams, they're teams that don't spend that much. They're not like one of the top spending teams. But they spend smartly and they spend on the appropriate positions, and then they
Minnesota's made a good addition that's now scoring for them. And
Boxy scored while you were away.
Yeah. See, everyone can score. Take note, Whitecaps. Kansas City had a really bad start to the year. Peter Vermes said they've had 16 players out injured at various points of the season. I mean, that can kill any team.
They had Champions League too.
So I mean, it's not been good. They're all pretty much back healthy now.
And Eric Hurtado's coming back, so that's fine too.
Look out.
Hard not to see KC pushing on now in the second half of the season. That's a team you expect are going to be in the playoffs every year anyway. One of the guys that's returning from injury, good friend of mine now, friend of the show, Johnny Russell. Long-time listeners to the show might know I'm a bit of an admirer of Johnny. We managed to get the restraining order put on hold for after the game yesterday. Caught up with Johnny after his 2 minutes on the pitch. A fact that you'll hear during the interview. Benny Feilhaber came out and went, "What are you talking to him for? He only played 2 minutes." Here's Johnny Russell. First thing I've got to ask you, how's the hamstring, especially after playing on a pitch like this?
It's been fine. Got back before the game last week, so just sort of taking it easy. Just taking it easy, try to get myself back in and obviously get as many minutes as I need to get myself back fit.
The injuries the team's had this year has been absolutely incredible, but it looks like you're starting to turn the corner a little bit now. Is the feeling in the group that you're still in it at this stage, that you just need a run of games now, get some wins under the belt?
Of course. I mean, it's still the same team that finished top of the conference last year, so we know how good we can be. Just this season we haven't performed anywhere near what we're capable of, what we've shown last year, and that's been the most disappointing part. Everyone in that locker room knows that we have to do better, and I think over the last couple of games we've shown that.
What's been behind it? Has it mostly just been down to the injuries, or has there been other things as well?
I mean, you lose the amount of guys we've lost, especially key players, and we lost them. It's not as if you lose one here, one there. We lost them all pretty much at the same time, so when you miss that many key players, and it's always going to hurt the team. And saying that, there's a lot of games that we should have seen out. We're leading and probably 4 or 5 games, and teams have equalised in the last minute, and that's down to us. That's nothing to do with injuries. That's concentration of the players that are on the pitch. So the injuries have hurt us, but at times the guys that I've been playing with, we've hurt ourselves as well.
The MLS West just now as well, it's the tightest it's been for a number of seasons, and the last couple of years it's shown as long as you get in the playoffs, it's then what matters since then. Is that kind of the mentality that the group's got? You just have to get there. It doesn't matter where you finish in the top 7, just as long as you get there.
Yeah, that's the thing. We need to be there. Obviously as high up as possible, but being there is the most important thing. This club's been on such a great run in making the playoffs, and I don't want to be involved with a group of players who breaks that tradition. So it's important for the club, for the players, and for the fans as well that we're there.
When I spoke to you last year, you'd kind of just not been long in the league, been a few years, but you had a really good first season. Overall, looking back on that, how did you find that first season in the league?
I think I adapted and dealt with the league well. From a personal point of view, I had a good season, and I'm always one who every year tries to do better. So for me, it was stats.
You don't really sit. You play 2 minutes.
Benny, that way, mate. Alright, good boy. Yeah, so stats, and I look at my stats last year, and I try and improve on them. So I'm nearly there in goals, and I'm catching up on assists as well. So if I'm doing that, I'm creating goals, I'm scoring goals for my team, then that's what makes me most happy.
With the season that you had, I kind of half expected you might end up a move back to the UK. I mean, did that ever cross your mind, or is this where you see your future?
No, I didn't. I had no intention really of going back to the UK. I'd played, even if I did, I'd just came off the back of playing 18 months with no break, so that was the last thing on my mind is playing more. So I enjoyed my rest, came back here, and it's not even crossed my mind to go back. There was a couple of phone calls, clubs asking if I would go on loan when I went back, but it's nothing that I've got a contract here. I'm happy here, and that's where I see myself.
What's life like for you in Kansas City? I mean, the heat would put me off living there, and then the coldest as well. I mean, do you just get used to it?
You have to. I don't know if you can get used to the heat there. It's like 37 degrees next week all week, so not ideal. But I go in, work hard, train, and then lead a quiet life away from that. I've got my wife and my daughter. My wife's pregnant again, so baby boy on the way. So quiet life for me. Just spend as much time with my family as I can, especially when you do a lot of travelling. So that's it. Enjoy the weather before you need to go back to Coatbridge.
And last thing from me, I've got to talk about Steve Clarke getting the Scotland job. What are you expecting from him as the coach there? Have you had any chats with him about you being here and flying over and stuff like that?
No. Obviously, I was in his last squad, and I went over injured. I was struggling with my calf a little bit, and he was great. Gave me the time to get ready, and then obviously, gave me another cap in the Belgium game. So that's. When a new manager comes in, you never know what your place is going to be like. You never take it for granted anyway, but especially under a new manager. So to get the call, and he's a quiet guy, but the chats that I did have with him are always positive, and you just have to see what he done with his Kilmarnock team.
Yeah.
How good he made them, and punching well above their weight, and I'm sure he can get us back to doing that as well.
That's great. Thanks so much, man.
Thank you,
Cheers.
Man.
Good luck for the rest of the season.
Thank you, man. See you later.
Johnny Russell there. Subtitles will be provided at your request. I did obviously want to ask him, so what's the chance of you coming to Vancouver then? I knew the answer, but I did want to ask him. I had chocolate digestives and iron brew already. I was wearing a Biffy Clyro t-shirt, trying to be as Scottish as possible. Even didn't spend any money yesterday just to try and be even more Scottish. But yeah, it was nice to talk to Johnny, and Steve was nice enough to take a photograph.
Took a picture, asked people to caption the photograph, so I'll read some of those out here. Returo guy goes, "I, Johnny, take thee, Michael." If only.
Yeah, Arne said the same thing. Yeah. So was that a marriage proposal?
Anna said, you really asking if I'd ever consider playing for Vancouver? Shoot, I can't even see his name. Vicinity, maybe. Take your chocolate digestive with you when you walk away. Chileo thoughts that you didn't earn a chocolate digestive, maybe because of the minutes he played. Ryan McLeod, unintelligible Scottish slang.
Yep.
At Leonard Dummy, now this is, I don't understand this term. This might be from England. Not a Love Island fan, honest, but that Curtis needs a kick in the balls. Maury wants to pump him, and he's ducking about some posh bird called Francesa, who is midden. Think he's scared of the beard, punching you big daft. I don't know what that means.
There's a word missing at the end after daft.
Yeah. Probably prick, I'm assuming. Michael, I'm flattered, but you would have to remember that restraining order. That was from Spencer J. Larson.
Yeah, it is back on again now.
At Fully Aroused says, "Tis a fine moon, lick, nick, to nick, ook I, a moose is loose about the hoose."
So your attempt at a Scottish accent, slightly better than JJ Adams, I have to say.
At KNVBCMNT, I wish we could play these guys every week. At Miss M Richter 37, no, I'm not Alex Edler. I think that's a hockey reference. At Grimmy, I can't even see. Why can't I see these names? Grimmy in the 604. I'll give you three options. I'll go with the best one. Can you please take me with you, Johnny? That was obviously talking about you. Asking.
I would die in Casey.
At Hallis 777, hey, I'm Scottish. You're Scottish. We should hang out. Cast W.
That was basically what I was aiming for.
Seriously, that's the team they out. And no name _actual. How about this Vancouver weather? Want to stay?
Did you get Gideon's in there?
Oh, Gideon's. I missed Gideon's. Let me go back there. It must have been not that good. I was
about Zlatan. He's like, I asked for Zlatan security.
Oh, okay.
but here we are anyway, Michael.
He is a good player, and it's good that he's coming back. I was concerned. I was speaking to the KC guys before they came out, and I was like, I don't think you should play him just because of our turf. Nothing to do with the fact that he was going to destroy the team, but I was worried that our turf was going to do his hamstring. It's not a good pitch to come back after just playing 20 minutes on. But he got a good 2 minutes. He set up a goal. He got a second assist, which I thought was generous.
He's like their Joaquin Arde, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so I got some other tweets quickly, we'll read. Derek Cockram, he said he would be happy if the Whitecaps won the Voyageurs Cup and the Cascadia Cup, maybe even sneak that, because if you're not going to be in contention for the MLS Cup, really, what is the point of being in the playoffs?
I don't think they're going to win the Cascadia Cup now after that loss in Seattle.
Greg Petrie says he's heard more people blaming ownership and front office this year as opposed to like Marc Dos Santos, but he's also heard a lot more casual fans just lose interest in the team altogether, and that's got to be worrying for the Caps.
The apathy is set in with
for sure.
Yeah.
C.D. Pryor said you can't fault the ownership on one hand for not like possibly spending too much and putting themselves in trouble when you look at what happened years ago, but teams like in the old NASL. But when you look at teams like Seattle, LA and Atlanta, they're spending lots of money, but they're reaping the rewards.
But you got to understand they're getting money in.
Yeah,
whether they're showing it on the books or not, they're bringing money in.
That's part of the whole. That's how this Ponzi scheme is set up with MLS, right? You can cry.
It's not a Fonzie scheme with our team.
Yeah, it is. You can cry
call
poor.
It the Fonzie scheme instead.
That would be good. You can cry poor by saying you're a soccer ops, you're losing money, while not showing the money you're making from some. This is not rocket science.
Yeah. Back to MLS then, in general. If you look at the form, quality, current placings, the top 5 right now, I can't see them not being playoff bound. It's the 2 LA teams, Seattle, Minnesota, and San Jose. Yes, the latter 2 could then have a dip because they've just gone on a good run.
Yeah, I only see 3 teams guaranteed, but I do also see Portland and San Jose. Well, Kansas City. Portland had a rough game yesterday or today. Yeah, yesterday.
Yeah,
last night.
Colorado, right?
Yeah, against Colorado. But I see those 2 teams eventually in that playoff hunt. I think the 2 teams you have to try to catch are San Jose and Minnesota.
Well, Houston now, I mean, they started strong. They've only got 1 win in the last 8. 5 of those are losses in the last 6. They've now dropped out of the playoffs altogether. RSL are 6th with 29 points from 20 games. Dallas are 7th with 29 from 21. Like you, I expect KC to move into the top 7. Probably Portland as well. So you look at that, it's not impossible, but it's really, really difficult to see, even if the Caps start to go on a run, that you're going to overhaul all the teams that you need to overhaul.
Yeah.
Well, like part of the problem with Vancouver is it's not like you're waiting for a player to get fit. It's not like there's some impending signing that's going to be a difference maker
that we've heard of,
right? So it's not.
Yeah, there's no summer splash.
There's nothing on the horizon, but the same more of what has already happened. So, yeah, anyone who sees them battling for a playoff spot, I think is basing that on hope.
I've already planned everything from the second week of October that does not involve Whitecaps. So. Out in the East, Philly are still top. DC and Atlanta is probably going to fancy their chances though of catching them. RSL though did destroy Philly 4-0 this week and looked really good at it. So that's a team you kind of expect them maybe to fall out, but I think they'll hold on, to be honest.
I see when they leave their home confines that they actually do struggle. So they have that advantage of playing in Salt Lake at the altitude, but once they leave, they're a 50-50 team for me right now.
A couple of other talking points just from around the league this week. First of them, the Leagues Cup. Crap name, just add an S on it. MLS, Liga MX sides, it gets underway later this month. But this past week, there was a lot of talk about how both leagues seem quite keen to combine and be a unified kind of North American league. This could be the precursor to it. It's a scary thought in a lot of ways for a club like Vancouver. We already kind of feel a little bit out in the cold in MLS terms. Add in Mexican teams to that, and where is our place in that league?
Yeah, it's nowhere. Yeah, it's nowhere. Like the larger Mexican clubs spend way more money than the MLS clubs do, as we've witnessed in the Champions League. And
might get a salary cap raised, which probably isn't going to help us either.
Yeah. Yeah, I think countries should play in their own country and have continental competitions.
Well, that brings me to a question I was wanting to ask. If this happens, or if MLS keeps expanding and the Caps can't really keep up cost-wise,
or choose not to.
Do you see a time where the CPL is a more attractive place for them to play? Would they be welcomed in the CPL?
No, I don't know about them being welcome, but it won't be attractive until they get that some money CPL. If they bring in the some money, Vancouver will
because it is a very low salary cap in CPL.
This morning I heard a sermon on the rich fool, and it's ringing a little bit true. And this Greg Kerfoot won't want anything to do with that because he got into this supposedly to give back to the football community and sport in this country, but whether he got into it for this or not, he has made a ton of money on this. What he has invested, the value is worth far more than what it was, even if it's not as high as it could be. And so why would anyone in that place want to be involved in something that is currently not valued as high? From a Canadian Premier League perspective, why would you want to deal with people who did a pretty good job at the USL, NASL, USL, A-League level, but are clearly not up to it at the MLS level, then being a part of what you're doing, especially if they're going to have the same approach or...
Yeah, one of the things that made me think about this question, though, was when I was in Calgary during the week, the local media were describing the Whitecaps as the legendary Whitecaps were coming to town. So the Whitecaps name, maybe not in cities like Vancouver itself and Montreal and Toronto who have the teams, but these other parts of Canada, they look at the Whitecaps as this kind of legendary club. It's got a lot of respect and some status and recognition. Very little outside of Canada. So for me, it would make a lot of sense. It'd kind of be big players, but I don't know. Last bit in this part, ESPN had their 5th annual anonymous MLS players poll. It was announced this week. Players from every club this year took part. There was 128 responses altogether. It's worth a read. It's a lot of fun. Quickly rattle through some of the answers. One of the questions was, which city do you dread going to play in or visiting the most and why? Vancouver were joint 6th, only on 4% though, so not too bad. New England 23%, with a lot of people saying cross-country travel. Houston 12%, Columbus 11%. I want to quickly read some of the responses from the players. Cross-country flights are pretty tough, but New England is the worst. The hotel is right next to the stadium and there's nothing else to do around there. The fans aren't the best, the field isn't the best, just the whole package, I guess. Columbus, dull city and black and grey all the time. Houston, it's a long trip, always hot there, and downtown is a ghost town on weekends. NYCFC, small pitch, not many fans, long ride to the stadium from the city. New England, terrible turf, Tom Brady world, Trader Joe's and Bass Pro Shops. Not normally Trader Joe's, by the way. And RSL Utah, because you wouldn't be a place you'd want to live. A friend living out here said it's boring unless you're really into the outdoors. Best kit in MLS, LAFC won with 26%, Atlanta 16%, KC 13%, Vancouver were 6th again on 5%. 68% of the players asked, or who answered, they love the new playoff format, 9% hate it, 23% don't care. That'll be the Whitecaps because they know they're not going to be in it. 64% would like to see Pro-Rel, 30% said no, and 6% had no preference. And one for Steve here. Top 3 superheroes, favourite superheroes by the players. Batman at 28%, Superman at 19%, and Spider-Man at 15%. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles got a vote, so I don't know if Fonzie was still voting or not. But lots of other fun segments about food and stuff as well, so check that out over on ESPN. But we're going to be back with looking at the 1979 NASL Soccer Ball and the big news that came out from CONCACAF this week about 2022 World Cup qualifying.
Hi, I'm Johnny Russell and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
The iconic Buzzcocks, Harmony in My Head, released on July 13th, 1979, entering the charts the following week. And of course, the reason we're playing the Buzzcocks there from 79, apart from them being my all-time favourite band, is we're going to kick off this part with our 1979 NSL Soccer Ball celebrations, continuing after a bit of a lengthy break from them. So a lot to catch up with. In the UK, 40 years ago this week, Our Friends Electric was the number one single, which we've previously played in the show, one of my all-time favourite songs as well. Number one album in the UK was Discovery by ELO, the Electric Light Orchestra. Number one song in Canada this week, 40 years ago, was We Are Family by Sister Sledge. First of 2 weeks at number one for them. Number one album was Breakfast in America by Supertramp. In the US, the number one single was Bad Girls by Donna Summer. Went on to be number one for 5 weeks. She also had the number one album with Bad Girls. Summer of Summer, you could say. And who doesn't like some Bad Girls? There were some classic movies released since we last did this section. Rocky 2 was released on June 15th. The infamous Video Nasty Driller Killer, I have that. It was released on the same day. As was the classic UK children's film Water Babies, which I don't know how big that was over here. It's a mixed animation live action thing. I remember going to see it with my mum at the pictures. Escape from Alcatraz was released the following week, along with the first Muppet movie. James Bond film Moonraker, June 26th, 1979 was released. Classic comedy Meatballs on June 28th. And the John Voight classic film The Champ was released on July 10th. There's a Dracula film as well, Steve.
Yeah, Robert Langella and Laurence Olivier were in that one.
Playing Van Helsing.
That came out this weekend.
July 13th.
Same weekend.
Yeah, so The Wanderers, which is a new... I don't know how many folk know about The Wanderers. It's a New York gang film, nowhere on a par with The Warriors. I've got that on VHS. Good bit of fun. In Whitecaps land, though, June saw the Caps have a 3-game road trip that saw them only win one game at Tulsa Roughnecks, losing to Minnesota and California. Returning to Empire to demolish New York Cosmos in a famous game, 4-1. They were 4-0 up at one point, in front of 32,372 fans. They then beat California, 3-1 win in Atlanta. They acquired Alan Ball, little Alan Ball, who was getting a lot of goals for them. Rounded off June with a 3-2 shootout loss in Fort Lauderdale. July, they lost to Toronto, then beat Sounders, so that's always a good thing, thanks to 2 goals from little Alan Ball. July 11th was the last game to bring us right up to date, and that was a 1-0 loss to the LA Aztecs. And that was 1979. I was going to say I missed that music, but I played it on vacation just to keep me happy and remind me of you guys.
You were talking about the past there. Let's talk about the future. Because it
doesn't look good.
It looks very odd with the CONCACAF qualifying that just came out.
Yeah.
We were going to bring it up in headlines, but might as well bring it up now because it's pretty big.
Wednesday, I think, was the official announcement by CONCACAF. I had just seen the headline. I hadn't read the email. I just said, qualification. I was like, I'll read that later. Then I got to Calgary and a lot of the guys were talking about it. And then I was like, I haven't read it yet. And then they explained it and I'm like, what? What the hell? How screwed over are Canada and other up-and-coming countries like Haiti? Yeah. Like Haiti, all these young players coming through, and then all of a sudden their hopes of maybe being at a World Cup's just pulled away from them. Potentially.
Yeah.
But let us explain.
Yeah.
So, CONCACAF's brainwave for 2022 World Cup qualifying is the top 6 FIFA-ranked nations in June 2020 will automatically qualify for the Hex. Right now, Canada are 8th, but Steve did a bit of digging and they're not too far out of being in the top 6.
Yes, I'll give you a quick update. They are 8 points behind Panama. Oh, sorry. I'm making sure I have the... Yes, 8 points behind Panama. They made up quite a few from the previous time. And they're about 30, I want to say less than 30 points away from El Salvador. And Panama had a decent Gold Cup, but El Salvador had a pretty poor one. The team above El Salvador, which they're about 50 points behind, Honduras, they had a really bad Gold Cup.
Yep. And then who's above Honduras?
Jamaica. And
nope, she went off her own accord.
Okay. So I think that right now, as of right now, Mexico, USA, Costa Rica, Jamaica are the 4 teams.
Definitely catchable. But the important thing is, for ranking points, you have to win games, and especially games from teams that's ranked higher than you.
Not only that, winning games in tournaments are more important even than friendlies.
This now makes this Nations League games coming up against the US.
Is it Nations League or League of Nations? Or that's different.
No, that's different. That's something different.
League of Nations.
Is that a comic book thing?
No, it's something to do with Zach Slot. Ancestors.
Oh, gotcha.
His ancestors.
Okay.
But the Nations League, these 2 games that's coming up against America, they were massive anyway. Canada have to get a result.
Yeah.
Even a draw is going to give them good ranking points.
Yes.
They've got to take at least a draw from these 2 games. A win could see them in the top 6.
Yeah.
2 defeats. They're
friendlies count too. Just
friendlies
not
count as well, but look who we are arranging friendlies against.
Does anyone have the algorithm on this?
Well, no one wants to play Canada in friendlies, it would appear, apart from crappy nations.
If I'm not mistaken, like a friendly is like worth equal like points. Like points don't make like they're whatever points you get. I think there's a multiplier, maybe a 1.5 times or 2 times in like a Gold Cup. And like a League of Nations might be 1.5. I'm not exactly sure, but it's
something like the Duckworth-Lewis method.
And the thing is they go over the last few sessions, so last few periods. So this recent period has been pretty good for Canada because they've got results. They got a couple of Gold Cup victories, so they got good results. And then
was what you just read us including that?
No, they haven't done an update recently. So the next one we'll see exactly where that last from 3 years ago where that was, and then it kind of changes.
It's over 5-year period.
It's a 3-year period. I thought.
So how it's going to work? These top 6 teams in June 2020 are automatically in the hex.
The hex. So and then out of that hex, they play each other home and away.
Yep.
The top 3 teams go to the World Cup.
Yes.
Yeah. Woo, we're going to Qatar.
Team 5 and 6 are outright eliminated.
Yes.
Team 4 then plays a playoff home and away, I think, right?
Yes.
Home and away playoff against
one of 29 teams.
One of the 29 rest teams from CONCACAF
who have been playing like a tournament group stage and knockout stage.
Yeah.
But it's just not home and away, let's just stress, because 29 teams playing each other in a round robin.
No, not round robin. There'll be groups.
We have to have started that 10
groups.
years ago.
Yeah.
It's like a Champions League
groups
style
of 3
format. Yeah. So, and the winner of that then goes into a playoff. Possibly against a South American nation. It could be an Asian nation.
Yeah.
Or Oceania.
If you're lucky, it's New Zealand.
Yeah.
Because they beat them.
But that...
It's crazy.
You look at that, and like taking Canada out of it, genuinely, teams like Haiti that are up and coming.
Yeah, the teams that are kind of
they're screwed.
The teams that are kind of going to be ranked between 7 and 12 are going to feel very hard done by.
Like Haiti's right now 11.
Yeah, I mean, what's the point then even for these lower nations?
So here's the reality of this.
Kitts and Nevis.
Okay,
another double country.
So I would first off say that
I think you think about Trinidad and Tobago. They're the top double countries.
So here's what I would say about this. One is, competitively speaking, this is incredibly unfair and unjust. But there are both footballing reasons for this, which also, not surprisingly, coincide with political realities of this.
And let's not forget financial.
No
one wants the US to miss another World Cup apart from every other country in
the world,
CONCACAF.
which they still have a sort of just below 50-50 chance of. But anyways,
I can't, like, if the Women's World Cup was in Qatar, I'd hate to see what Alex Morgan's celebrations would be like. I don't know, we should be faking some dead workers or something? I don't know. Who knows what goes through their head?
Oh, no. No, so here's what's going on here. One is, what happens with the lower teams in CONCACAF is they play like one home and away in World Cup qualifying, and if they don't advance, they're done.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a cycle in terms of
they could go 4 years, 3 or 4 years without a decent
without a competitive game, other than maybe the Caribbean Cup or whatever. And so those teams need more competitive matches. This will provide that for them. Now, that also coincides with the political reality of within CONCACAF, and those who each, as I understand, each member nation has the same weight, the same voting weight.
Yeah.
So the block of the Caribbean teams and maybe some of the Central American teams, who don't get, especially the Caribbean teams, I think, who often get knocked out early in these things, they are a very strong political base, and so it makes sense if you're the president of CONCACAF to both help them in footballing terms, because it can be helpful for you in a political reality as well. So whether you think it's right or not,
yeah, but I don't see how this does help him. That's the thing. It's like certain countries that there's not any point at all of them being in this.
But now they're
not going to get to play though in America or Mexico and get that big.
But they're
money.
guaranteed double the games, which is probably double the gate. Let's say, most likely, and there's a bit of a chance for even more games, right?
And it keeps them in it too. Kind of, they're playing for something. They're playing for the chance to. Essentially, whoever's that team that advances against the fourth team, they're 2 steps away from the World Cup.
Yes.
Whereas they might not even make the hex, so that might be really far away. They might be eliminated way sooner.
Then you look like a team like El Salvador. So they're sitting 5th or 6th in the rankings.
Sixth right now, yeah.
6th right now in the rankings.
But they'll drop.
They're going to look at that and think, okay, so if we make it to the hex, we're not going to be in the top 3.
Yes, this is another problem, yes.
So we'd be out because realistically we'll finish 6th, maybe 5th.
But they
would have a good couple.
But
of
in
games.
the hex, in the old hex, if they were 6th, they would have been out anyway.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make a difference.
Yeah, but they'd be playing all these games and they'd be out. Whereas they could go through this 29-team field as one of the stronger countries in that field.
Yes.
Then they've just got this sort of home and away thing.
So it's a counterbalance. Which one is better for you?
What's their incentive to be 6th? Do they start losing some games to drop down the rankings? Stuff like that.
So even for
I think they've already started.
Yeah. So obviously the nations have known about this for a while, right? I think to help with the competitive fairness, even though some of the rankings are from 3 years ago, whatever the numbers. But this is one of the conversations about the fairness. What if you're one of those teams where you're on the bubble and you, just like you said, Michael, you feel you have a better shot going through the 29 than playing with the top 6 or the top other 5 or whatever.
Yeah.
So will you see teams tank? Now, John Herdman this week spoke on another Canadian podcast.
Yes, which I actually want to listen to.
Oh, okay.
I
listened to it.
Like it was going to be interesting.
I listened to it, and I think one of the things he said, and one of the things was it was good to hear his perspective on going out of the Gold Cup, because I think there was. I think he was Steve. I think he was less slick than he usually is, and a little bit, you could feel the pain of it, and he wasn't dismissive of it, and I think he owned things in it, including I think the substitutions, which were awkward, or at least he explained them anyways. But one of the things that I think he referenced in there was how Canada was lining up some friendlies that I think maybe they hadn't previously lined up.
Yes.
So.
That's good then to hear that, because that was one of my initial thoughts is Canada needs to get some friendlies and against some big teams and to have a good showing in those friendlies. Just play Scotland.
I was going to say, can you set something up?
Yeah, because we'll lose anyway. Although we do have a new coach, so we'll be motivated. But when I first read it, I thought this is an absolute disaster. Canada are screwed over. But then the more I thought about it, if Canada are going to be the strongest potential team from this 29-team group, it might give them a better shot.
Yeah, it might give them momentum. But I think from a perception perspective, they need to be in the hex. Right?
Yeah. I personally think that you were talking about, like, why would Montagliani agree to this? I think they've probably done some calculations where they think they can get into the top 6 by that time, by June 2020. And that's why they wanted to put that out there and get in it. Because two wins against Cuba in a Nations League will help. And then, like I said, one draw against the U.S. And I don't know the math right now, but I can almost guarantee that they'll make the top 6 at that point.
I think they would if they get something from the U.S. game.
Yeah. One of the things I haven't looked into deeper, but I've heard that this is CONCACAF has put this out there, but FIFA maybe still has to approve it.
Oh.
I don't know if that's true or not, but if that...
Well, we can count on FIFA to do the right thing. Pretty sure about that.
Because, like Steve told us a few weeks ago, there's no more corruption.
They've
They're
changed.
corruption-free.
They've turned a corner now.
Yeah. It's all on the up and up.
Well, wait to see how that plays out. obviously the Nations League is coming up in September, October, maybe November as well. Definitely September and October. No games here, though.
September, October. 4 games.
I was toying with going to Toronto for the US game. I don't know. We'll see. Whitecaps season's over by then. Anyway, we will be back with the last part of the show, Wavelength and BC's Soccer Web headlines. There's a very toe-tapping Wavelength tune this week. After this.
This is Atiba Hutchinson, and you're listening to the AFTN show.
Welcome back, boys and girls, men and women, children of all ages. You are listening to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio.
Can I ask you to put away your back scratch?
Okay, this time.
Especially considering he wasn't scratching his back with it.
It's very soothing. You don't often get hands that reach those places. We're on 101.9 FM, CITR Radio, broadcasting from the unceded Musqueam Territory, from the University of British Columbia.
I wish I could unsee what I saw just a few minutes prior.
Anyway, now it's time for Wavelength, my favourite part of the show. And we've been a bit doom and gloom in this episode, let's be honest. So I've gone for an upbeat song.
We've been doom and gloom.
Well, our subject matter has made us quite doom and gloom.
That's more fair.
This is a song from 2016, brought out for the Euros in France by favourites of the show, Helen Love. There's a boy from Wales called Gareth Bale.
Gareth Bale, Giovanni! Gareth Bale, Giovanni! Gareth Bale, Giovanni! Gareth Bale! Gareth Bale! Gareth Bale!
He's a boy from Wales called Gareth Bale. He's a boy from Wales called Gareth Bale. We're going to France, we got a chance, we cannot fail with Gareth Bale. We're going to France, we got a chance, we cannot fail with Gareth Bale.
Shot, Gareth Bale! Gareth Bale, Giovanni! Shot, Gareth Bale!
He's a boy from Wales called Gareth Bale. He's a boy from Wales called Gareth Bale. Being the defender, they'll never get you now. 'Cause Gareth Bale's on the attack, they'll never get the ball back. Being the defender, they'll never get you now. 'Cause Gareth Bale's on the attack, they'll never get the ball back.
Do not go gentle into that good night. Old age should burn and rave at the close of day. Rage, rage against the dying of the light.
He's a boy from Wales called Gareth Bale. He's a boy from Wales called Gareth Bale. We're going to France, we got a chance, we cannot fail with Gareth Bale. We're going to France, we got a chance, we cannot fail with Gareth Bale.
Shot, Gareth Bale! Gareth Bale, Giovanni! Shot, Gareth Bale!
boy from Wales called Gareth.
St. David spoke these words. Noble brothers and sisters, be glad and guard your faith and religion, and do the little things which you have heard from me and which I have shown. And may your conduct be steadfast upon the earth, for we shall never meet here again.
He's a boy from Wales called Gareth Bale. He's a boy from Wales called Gareth Bale.
Shut, gotta fight, jump, Anna. Shut, gotta fight, goal. Shut, gotta fight, jump, Anna. Shut, gotta fight, goal.
He's a boy from Wales called Gareth Bale.
Na 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 na. He's a boy from Wales called Cal Robinson. We could have done that. We still could. He might come back. Who knows? I guess with Robbo leaving, we're probably not going to get Gareth Bale signing for the Whitecaps, because that's the only reason he wouldn't come now. Nothing to do with cost. That was Helen Love from 2016 with There's a Boy from Wales called Gareth Bale. And now, there's a man called Steve from Surrey, and he's going to go over BC Soccer Web headlines.
I just live in Surrey. I'm actually a Vancouver guy.
Yeah.
So let's get that straight right now.
You tell him, Steve.
Yeah.
East Vancouver, I believe, as well.
Yeah.
Same as me.
Oh,
East
same
Van.
as Bobby's from East Van.
East Van.
I was
Fife.
more southeast still. 49th in Victoria, 9th Street, around there. Yeah.
That's not far from the Alpine
Richmond.
Club.
Oh yeah, I know. I walked by the Alpine Club multiple times. I was always wondering until that time we went there.
Anyway, time for BC Soccer Web headlines, brought to you in partnership with bcsoccerweb.com, your one-stop site for everything. What's been catching your eye this week, Steve?
A few stories. We'll go over them quickly. Inter Miami.
I know you keep doing that.
It was on purpose or by accident. The stadium training facility has been approved by the Fort Lauderdale City Commissioners. That's the final approval that they needed.
Fort Lauderdale's not in Miami?
It's Fort Lockhart. It's an offshoot.
You have to go through it to get into Miami.
It's a Fort Lockhart stadium. It's going to be renovated. Kind of, they say build, but it's really more renovating. It's an 18,000 seat stadium. It'll be their home for 2 years until Miami Freedom Park is built.
Oh, okay.
And then it'll turn into like an academy, like second division kind of thing for their USL team. Oh. So Beckham, moving it on.
I'll still be amazed if Miami take the pitch at any point.
Wasn't there some rumors recently that he was like...
We talked about it. Yeah, that was us.
Yeah,
we didn't start the rumors. We reported on the story that was rumored.
Yeah, Steve Panders.
Did you talk to him about it, Steve?
No, I haven't talked to him about it.
Both Man U boys, you should.
Vancouver. I told you Vancouver. Ex-FIFA executive Jack Warner has been ordered to pay $79 million in restitutions.
Drop in the ocean for him.
It's essentially because it's been ordered by a judge in New York City because Warner himself didn't contest a 2017 civil suit that claimed that he alleges that he embezzled millions of dollars. He's currently in Trinidad and Tobago. I'm not sure which one. Facing extradition orders to go from the U.S. Basically,
I think he's in Trinidad.
Yeah. Oh, there. Now, you said it was $79 million. Chuck Blazer's estate has agreed to pay $20 million back because...
how much is his cat going to pay?
I'm not sure. But $20 million is going to be... Maybe the cat is paying.
To be fair, though, for Chuck Blazer, that was like 1 month's food bill for him.
He's a bit of a larger fella.
Yeah.
Yeah, he used a cart to get around BC Place.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Last story we have here.
Some of the Whitecaps players could do that.
So last story here. So we talked about
This is the last story.
Yeah, this last story. Ali Adnan, we mentioned before about it. We don't
44-year-old.
know. We don't know how old he is. Yokohama FC is signing some players who they are letting us know how old they are, and they're pretty old. They signed Shunsuke Nakamura, who's 41, and he's going to be joining Kazuyoshi Murawa, who is 52.
Jeez.
This is J2.
The J2 league. Nakamura himself is a former Celtic attacking midfielder.
Oh, yes.
Made his pro debut in 97, I think in Japan. He was also Player of the Year, PFA Scotland's Player of the Year in 07, and was part of a team that won 3 out of 4 years. Well, 3 out of the 4 years he was there, they won league titles.
Strong style from him.
Maroa was signed in January, this previous January. He made his debut in 86 with Santos in Brazil, and recently in 2017 broke Stanley Matthews' record for oldest pro to score a goal when I guess he was 49 at the time. So that's a pretty old starting front.
Yeah.
So
I can listen.
You can't really complain about Montero then.
No, I can hear about the Whitecaps listening to this episode and going, get Willie Johnson on the phone.
I think
he might have some people he doesn't get along with super well.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Might not answer the phone call.
So Ali Adnan, you're saying Ali Adnan has some years left?
I guess so.
Yeah.
Especially in Japan.
Just about 8. But yeah. So that was BC Soccer web headlines for this week. I guess that is it for this week's show as well. We're going to be back at 11 o'clock next week. Let you know, in August, it's going to be, I think the first 2 shows in August we're going to be on at 9 o'clock, but we should be at 11 for the rest of July. Did you learn anything from the show this week?
Jack Warner was a lot of money. That was enjoyable.
I wonder how much money he's made in his lifetime.
Well, remember,
if that's what he has to pay back.
He used to sell tickets to World Cup matches. He used to sell the Federation's tickets.
Well, as I've told this story several times on the show before, he got East 5-3 Trinidad and Tobago players. They don't come cheap.
I learned it was a good thing FIFA called it Nations League.
Yes. It avoids a lot of confusion.
Yes.
Although it would have been probably quite popular in Italy. Anyway, that is it for this week's show. I would read out the tweets we've got, but they're on the computer in the next room and I left my phone at home. So we'll maybe get to them next week, but thanks for getting in touch with us during the show. Just before we do go, let everyone know where they can find you online.
You can find me on Twitter at WhitecapsBeat.
For me, it's at Zachary AM, and I'm part of the Movement Curve Collective.
I am Michael McCall. You can find me online at AFTN Canada on Twitter, AFTN Soccer on Instagram. Read all our stuff on Away From The Numbers, aftn.ca. Hope you've enjoyed this episode of the show, episode 349. We will be back soon to talk about those amazing wins in New England and against San Jose. I can't believe we scored double figures in both games. Early prediction, I'm changing my previous one. But we will be back next week. Thanks for listening. Take care and mon the Caps.
Going to your first match is an experience you never forget. The atmosphere of what's going on around the pitch looks beautiful, and you always look and go, wow, I'd love to play here one day. If you get the bug, it's going to stay with you for life.
10 minutes left. Yeah, but there's still some time. It's not the final score. We need more than the numbers we're given. Show us you live and breathe the game. You're more than a name. That's what we came for. We can bring you more than the score. Every story. Let's take this thing off of the field into the real world, away from the numbers, away from the numbers.